Hello, everybody. This is Jose Perez with Home Genius, an ecosystem for agents, brokerages, and lenders. Today, we have a very interesting webinar for you talking about how to become a modern brokerage, sponsored by Zavvi. But before we get into the program, let me introduce the panelists. Leslie, tell us about you.
Sure. Well, thank you so much for having me. It's really a pleasure meeting all of you. My name is Leslie Cato. I have been a realtor for the last 22 years. I have been the CEO and team leader of Keller Williams Elite Realtors in Metuchen, New Jersey for the last 5 years. And prior to that, I had my own team. Even prior to that, I was in corporate America. I was a consultant. So I feel like I've had several different lives. So it's totally different. My team right now, we have about 410 agents and about 10 staff members or team members or support team to work with them.
Perfect. Thank you, Leslie. Jamie, haven't seen you in 20 years, and you showed up on a call the other day, and I was so happy to see you. Good to have you.
Same here. Thanks for having me. Glad to be part of this. Jamie Huggins. I work in the markets of Northeast Florida, Jacksonville, and Southeast Georgia. Very military friendly. Work with a lot of military folks. I am retired Army Reserve over 34 years. Worked as a signal communications person, so that's really kind of my affinity for technology. Been in the real estate business for almost 26 years. Started like many on this call as a real estate agent. Became a broker and developing and growing teams and companies. And currently working with a couple of ERA companies here in our markets. I'm happy to be here and happy to share with whatever we can today.
Great, thank you so much. And last but not least, Mr. Horning Lane from Zavvi. Thank you for sponsoring this event, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, thanks, Jose. Jamie, Leslie, great to see you here. Jamie, cool to find out you're a retired vet. I spent 7 years in the Marine Corps, so. Awesome. Yeah, we're here to talk about becoming a modern brokerage, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of Zavvi. I think when you think about what it means to be a modern brokerage, there's a few different ways, a few different flavors of that, and I think Jamie and Leslie, Jose are going to peel that back a little bit more. But through my eyes and Zavvi's eyes, and I'm also a broker owner myself, when I think about the modern brokerage, I think about the different ways to buy and sell houses, and it's not a sort of one size fits all anymore. We think about the 6 major buying and selling solutions, the way we organize them at Zavvi. You've got open market, but now you can modify that with the listing concierge program. You've got a modern buy before you sell bridge that makes it easier for someone to get to house B before they put house A on the market. Got instant sale, not just from the iBuyers. By the way, there's been institutional buyers buying houses for decades, and they're not going anywhere. And that's that quick sale on the sell side. On the buy side, yeah, most things are mortgage financed, but now you can, do a cash offer, arm your client with a cash offer. And what's really cool is the homeownership accelerators, companies like Divvy that help people get over the down payment hurdle and get people into homeownership faster. So what we do at Zavvi, we take all those different solutions, we empower an agent to bring them all to the market with one button and underneath the brokerage's brand. So I think that's key, because I think the modern brokerage has all these solutions at their disposal. And what the benefits of that are, Jose, if you click on my next slide, thank you, is, hey, anybody right now feel like there's a few transactional headwinds? Maybe. So any way to unlock a transaction, to bring a buyer or a seller across the finish line, I think is really important in today's market. Agents, of course, always want to do more with less, save them time. Key is, in this market with these headwinds, you got to go to your client database. But you got to go to them with something new. You can't just go to them with, hey, the market's kind of not so great. I think you've read the headlines. You got to go to them with, I've got solutions that you maybe have never heard of and different ways to buy and sell. And then, of course, as a brokerage, we all know ancillaries are key to profitability. So these new solutions can drive ancillary capture rates. Our platform's pretty cool. It gives the agent a full dashboard of all their clients and the different options they may be using or thinking about using. Software makes the world go round, but only if it's easy to use. So, and then, I think when you think about our platform, and I'll wrap up, we've got 80,000 agents on the platform, some great brokerages around the country, and happy to talk to anybody about Zavvy and how we can help your brokerage become a modern brokerage. But let's dive in, Jose.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Lane. So before we get into the program, if you have a question, you go to the little box there on the right and type that question in. There's people monitoring that, and we'll certainly answer the questions as we go. So without further ado, I'm going to unshare my screen so you can see us and talk to us. So I'm going to start with what's happening in the market. I mean, I think about what we do, in terms of helping brokerages unlock the power and the value of their spheres. We happen to do it using a lot of data and artificial intelligence that we have available to us. But speaking to you guys as brokerages, how do you view the market right now, and what impact is it having on your particular business? And this goes out to all of you. So someone take the lead on that.
I think the real estate business or market in particular, we're always changing, right? So, you have a buyer's market, a seller's market, a balanced market. And the thing with real estate is everything that's happening in the world impacts us. Everything that's happening in people's lifestyles impacts us. So if someone is getting a divorce, somebody's getting married, somebody's having kids, somebody's downsized. So everything affects us. So for us, it's not really a question of how it's changing. The question for us, or our focus, is our response. How are we going to pivot? How are we going to shift? So like Disney or any very successful companies, we believe our cast members are the key. So for us, our cast members are our agents. So we spend a lot of time, resources into training, coaching on things like mindset in terms of how do you respond to what's going on yourself personally, and how do you share with your clients, because your clients are actually looking at the news as well. So they know more than you know, right? And sometimes it impacts them even like directly. So for example, you have a client that's under contract, was pre-approved, and now a couple of weeks prior to closing, he is no longer approved for that mortgage, right? So you have to have solutions ready. You have to have partners that are ready to help you with those things on the fly. It has to happen. But I think in the real estate business, we are used to and accustomed to changes constantly. So it's just really being ready and have partnerships and have resources and tools to pivot as is needed.
Yeah.
So
go
ahead.
No, finish your thought.
No, and for us, I think the biggest tool that we have is our skill sets and our partners. So those are the two things that we have. If you've been an agent for the last 2-3 years, you don't even know what it means to actually market a property, right? Like you put the sign on the ground and boom, it was ready. You don't even know how to really discuss with your client how to reposition their property, because we don't want to say price reduction, right? You don't know anything about the interest rates that are currently. So for us, our focus is really on our agents, making sure their skill sets and their mindsets are up there.
Good. That's awesome. And obviously, is sharpening your saw is important in any sales capacity, but particularly today when the market's gotten a little bit, coming back down to earth, I guess, and people are not used to it. But Lane, you touched on something that I'd love for you to expand on, and that is your clients. This is the only industry that describes someone they sold a house to as a past client. I heard that from Larry Kendall at an event not too long ago. And it struck me because, I spent a lot of time talking to brokerages about how to unlock the value of their sphere, right, by providing real information. We happen to have a lot of technology that helps to do that, but other people send out, cookie recipes and stuff like that, right, which again, as we all know, are not that effective. So in your view, how do you, in this environment, unlock the power of your sphere, of your client base in ways that are going to be engaging? Because they are hearing a lot of noise about the market and all that kind of stuff, but you as a real advisor can help them, because 90% of consumers, according to NAR, would use the same agent again, but only 13% do. So why is that, and what can you do with what's going on today to unlock that value?
Yeah, I think we're in this transition where agents are going from order takers to deal makers. And the question becomes, as an agent or a broker owner supporting your agents, what tools do your agents have to be deal makers? What arrows are in their quivers? And in a market that I would describe as choppy, it's hard to get a read on what direction it's going. It's choppy when you look out there. I think you've got to have tools that actually impact the transaction, that enable a transaction, and then bulletproof that transaction to make sure it gets across the finish line. So, a tool like a cash offer, that may be a great tool in this market where houses aren't flying off the shelf, and we go back to the old days where cash is king, and you can come in and offer 10% below list price and get the house, and you just saved your client 10% of the purchase price. That's an unlocking a transaction, especially when interest rates are as high as they are. Any way to minimize expenses clearly will help unlock a transaction. So that's one example, Jose.
Yeah, perfect. Well, Jamie, you talk about you work with several brokerages there, and I know you had a brokerage, when I first met you years ago. How do you define a modern brokerage, and how do you become one? I know we're going to get into more details from each of you and what you're each doing, but just high level, how would you describe a modern brokerage?
So it's great to see and to meet you again, because you remember when we first met, we were back then, we were using innovative approaches to give our agents and their clients a leg up in the marketplace, on how they would list properties, how they show properties. What's happened between even now and then is just technology has changed so much, and it's the consumer now is more demanding than we've ever seen them, and that's not a bad thing. But the consumer has all this data at their fingertips. What we've learned, though, is the consumer doesn't always know what to do with the data. And what I've tried to teach agents to do since the very beginning, when I started broker and building businesses and building companies, was how to show my agents how to use data so that they can become the trusted real estate advisor for everybody that they talk to. To give that customer a reason to work with them using data, to be able to explain to them why markets were going in the direction they were going, and to be able to get out ahead, like Lane talked about, to get out ahead so you could bulletproof your transactions and not feel like that they were missing something. What I love about the tools that we have now is they do two things for us. Is in a modern brokerage, they help us teach, because when I roll out the Zavvy platform, for instance, as the portal show to the agents, you show that all those different companies out there, all those different disruptors, we call them, right? But they're really different types of support systems for helping consumers get to where they want and the type of transaction that they want. It's overwhelming, right? It's overwhelming for the agent, it's overwhelming for the brokerage, it's overwhelming for the consumer, obviously. But we have to be able to be prepared to share the opportunity with them so that we can bulletproof that transaction, so we can lock it in and make sure that be taken care of. And the portal is a way that no matter what comes at us, we can take that portal and say, hey, look, don't be scared. We can't be scared of the because we have something that's going to help us manage it. It's going to help us explain to the consumer what the opportunity may be, whether it's a power buyer, whether it's an iBuyer, whether it's listing concierge, and there's more that's coming. You talk about fractional ownership and all those things that are out there, but now we have a way that the agent can feel comfortable knowing that the portal is going to kind of teach them, train them, and then be able to show that to the consumer, because the consumer wants to know. Now, at the end of the day, the consumer is going to use that agent because they know them, because they like them, and because they trust them. And that hopefully will never change. But now, to trust me as a real estate professional, I better have all my tools at my disposal. So whether I'm talking to you as a seller looking to list in a market that's shifting from a seller's market to a more balanced market, at least for us here, or if it shifts in a different direction to a buyer's market and vice versa. I'm talking to a buyer, and 9 months ago, I could show you why it was important to use a power buyer to help you lock in and not have to go out and make 8, 10 offers, but to win on the first time or the second time. But now I can go to the buyer or the seller and say, here's why this tool works for you now. You can choose to use it or not, because I'm your trusted real estate professional. I'm going to show you how to use it, and then we're going to decide what works best for you. That's empowering our agents now and not feel so scary that things are changing, you know. But at the end of the day, hey, you know, I can go online right now and I have groceries show up at my door, right? I need a car to take me across the country. All I gotta do is go to my phone to do it. Real estate is going in that direction, but there's so many pieces to it and there's so much in it. If we don't have them all armed, our agents armed, to help them understand how to use them and explain them, then it becomes just totally overwhelming. And so that's why we look at it, is it's really giving our agents confidence to go out there and win more listings, which is, you talked about, win more transactions, or to win more deals and get to a closing faster and not have to feel like you're out there spinning your wheels. So that's kind of the overview of how we're trying to make it work for us.
Yeah, I love what you brought up about the consumer, because I talk about that all the time. You know, I mean, I fly a lot, right? Travel all over the world and all over the country mostly. But, you know, I book my plane ticket on my phone. I can see, you know, where my seat's going to be. I can see if I'm going to be upgraded. I can see if the plane's on time. I can see when my bags are on the plane. That only happens, by the way, when I fly with my wife. I never check bags. But nevertheless, the consumer has access to information, and they have it for everything they do, every purchase they make. And I've always thought to myself, like, if the real estate industry could ever catch up to these other industries and generate the transparency and use that data correctly, you know, it's going to be much better, because again, the agent is the trusted advisor. But to your point, does he or she have the confidence to have, for example, that pricing conversation or any other conversation they're having? You know, but if they're armed with the right tools, they can do that. So let's switch things into. We had a prep call a couple of weeks ago, and you know, we talked about some of this stuff in a little bit more detail. So I'd love to get back to Lane for a second. Lane, you talked about adding more value to your clients. You talked about things like listing concierge, prepping the property, some of the bridge opportunities. Kind of dive a little deeper on some of those things, how you're applying them at AZ, and you know, how would you recommend someone to look at that kind of thing?
Yeah, I think it's interesting as the market shifts, where houses actually, as you know, Leslie alluded to, stay on the market for a little while. The showing condition becomes paramount, and you can't just put a sign in the ground. So from our vantage point at Zavvy, we see listing concierge programs gaining a lot more traction. And sometimes it's a third party, you know, and listing concierge, just to define it, is helping the seller finance and do the work to prep their home to go to the open market. So carpet and paint prior to going to the open market, and providing both, in some cases, the financing, in other cases, both the financing and the vendors to help out to do that. You know, as the market shifts, these solutions get changed and get more traction. But if you're an agent, a modern agent, and you walk in on a listing appointment, a competitive listing appointment, and you don't have a listing concierge solution, there's a chance you're not going to win, because the other agent has that. And whether the client uses it or not, it's about having the options. And if you don't have that option, you might not get that listing. By the way, if you have the option, the chances of the house actually not just you listing it, but actually going under contract and then closing it increase quite a bit if you prep it correctly. As we all know, I'm a tech guy, but I'm a practitioner too. So, and I think Leslie really has got a read on this. I mean, she talked about how she bulletproofs transactions, and I just love that.
Yeah. Actually, I was just going to go to Leslie, because I tell you, that bulletproof your deals. I've been using that, Leslie, for the past 2 weeks since you said that. So why don't you dive a little deeper on some of the things that are doing, and in practice, what's worked really well, and maybe what are some other things that you haven't tried yet that you're thinking about doing?
Yeah. So the bulletproofing the transaction actually starts from the time you meet your client. So for example, if you're listing a property, you're going to offer your clients the listing concierge services. So one of the things that we're huge on is we have a stager. So, if you are a new construction, you're a builder, you're not showing a house vacant, right? It's not going to sell. But if you stage that property now, you're into a different realm. Now, the buyer doesn't really think they're not getting all those things in that house, right? They just know that's what it looks like and that's what I'm buying. So from the moment you do your listing consultation or your listing presentation or your buyer consultation, you actually starting to prep. You're starting to literally bulletproofing the transaction. So from the listing side, you also offering, one of the things that we offer our clients is a pre-inspection. So we have deals with inspectors. We don't want to wait till your buyer does a home inspection for you to find out the issues that you have with the home. So we do a pre-inspection. So we have deals with different inspection companies that provide great pricing for that, but you want to do that. The third thing you want to do is you want to run a quick title search on that property. You don't want to be surprised because the challenge is the buyer's attorney who runs the title usually runs it 2 to 3 weeks before closing when all the contingencies have been removed. And at that time, you've already spent a month or two. You've gotten your mortgage, you've done your appraisal, you've done all that. And then 2 weeks before closing, they run the title and say, well, this property has a lien and it's not closing. So you want to get that done even before you list the property, so you know what you're dealing with. So buyer, even for your seller, you can't just take a pre-approval, even if it's your listing. You need to have mortgage companies or mortgage reps that you trust that when they give you a pre-approval, it's done. It's absolutely done. So if you have a listing and a buyer's agent shows up with a pre-approval, that's great. You can obviously use whoever you want, but we would like for our mortgage company to pre-approve your client so that we know for certain that's going to close. Because at the end of the day, you have a responsibility to your seller to make sure that that buyer is a real buyer, right? I don't even think people show up with we had a big discussion between a pre-approval and it doesn't even matter because we're in an environment where things are changing. 0.25% interest is going to make you not a buyer, right? So we need to know that you have other avenues to make that happen. So like I said, we start from before the property even goes on the market. And with our buyers, we start before we meet you, we want you to be pre-approved by our mortgage company. And the thing about our mortgage company, their pre-approval is the only thing that it needs from the pre-approval is an appraisal of the property. So you are 100% approved on this, and we're ready. So bulletproofing is really key because it's not only for your time, because you don't want to spend 3 months on a deal and then you don't get to the closing table. That's losing. But if your clients don't get to the closing table, you are losing that client as well.
Yeah, and I love what you guys were talking about here, because honestly, when you think about everything Lane said, everything you just said, Leslie, and I'm going to bring Jamie on here in a second, it all just makes perfect logical sense to do these things, right? But as an industry, we haven't really done that, for whatever the reasons. And in my view, modern brokerage is not only about transparency, it's about consumer experience and providing an experience that's awesome for that person, so they do want to refer you and use you again. My wife recently actually has a closing today, I think. It was supposed to close last week, and at the very last minute, the lender came up with something that honestly the other agent should have known about, and it postponed the closing for a week. And my wife, as many of you, probably do, was playing therapist for her buyer. And, the guy was flipping out, and what does this mean? They don't know. It's a scary, scary thing to buy a home, especially if you haven't bought one before, or if you only bought a few. And so it's up to us as realtors to be able to anticipate where the problems might lie, but then also what additional opportunities there are to working with a buyer and a seller. And that's, Jamie, what I would like you to talk about. What are some of the non-traditional buying and selling options that you're employing to give your customers that additional level of comfort and an opportunity that puts you in a position to be their trusted advisor and keep them coming back to you over and over again?
Yeah, so we're a consumer-driven market now. The consumers is the lead of every transaction. So how do we go out there and in a new digital modern real estate space, and how do we gain their confidence? Because it's still about gaining that confidence and trust so that we can get them to where they believe that we can help them. 2020 pandemic, starting to come out of it. We had just rolled out this portal, and the Zavvy platform is a conduit by help. I was able to train and teach, because at the end of the day, it's about leads and lead conversion. Those people who need help are your leads. Converting them is to proving that you can help them and fill that need. So one of the first things we did was we would walk into listing appointments with iBuyer offers in hand. And our agent would walk in and do the full-blown listing presentation, whatever level the customer wanted. But they said, look, I got offers here. I can show you who's ready to buy your house right now. Now, I've seen this done across multiple states. I've seen agents working together, refer to each other, where selling a house, say in Las Vegas, Nevada, open door offer in hand, have to be moved in a month, have to buy a house in Atlanta, use Ribbon as the power buyer to help them win the deal when there were 10 other offers on the table, and they had a contingent deal, wasn't contingent anymore. So they had open door on one end, they had Ribbon on the other end, they won, they closed, everything happened. And the agent's ability to be able to explain that and walk them through that was key, was paramount. Because not only do you have to explain it to the customer, you got to explain it to the other agents who are involved in the transaction and be able to say why this is all going to work or not work. So that was one thing. We ended up increasing our listing inventory when other folks were losing listings. We were gaining market share because our agents were walking in with the iBuyers and having those in hand. Market shift, things change. Last spring, the power buyer, to be able to go out there with Ribbon, with Knock, with Homeward, and be able to say, hey, I'm going to show you how to win. Really had a problem in our market, especially with the military and being the affinity for me, the VA buyers. Sellers are going, I don't want a VA offer. They're going to have an inspector and appraiser go through there. They're going to tear my house apart. Nope, I'm looking for cash only or conventional only. Well, now we have our VA buyers walking with a Ribbon offer or a knock deal in hand. All of a sudden, it's not so scary anymore. All of a sudden, they're winning those deals and they're getting into their house when we were in such a crazy market with all the multiple offers. Things keep shifting. Had a customer who was buying new construction, okay, taking a little bit of time to build a house because of supply chain issues. We knew how long the building process was taking. Builders putting pressure on them to put more money for the upgrades. They didn't have the money, it was all locked up in their house. Our agent explained to them Easy Knock, sell before you buy. Easy Knock comes in, buys a house, unlocks all of their equity. They're able to put that towards a new house while staying in their house. The agent was the key, though, to making them feel comfortable through all that, so it wasn't so scary. The customer's happy as a lark. Moved into the new construction, put the house back on the market, it's sold. Easy Knock was great to work with. The portal, though, gave the agent that confidence, and because the training is all tied into it. And even now, the kind of market that we're in now, the listing concierge. I had an agent that went into a house and the customer needs to sell their house because they're in financial straits and they have to get out of their house, but the market's moving away from them. So they had an investor offer in hand for like $140,000. House is worth $50,000 more than that, but they didn't know what to do. Agent says, well, let's use a listing concierge. We can get some repairs done. So they advertised the house, got an offer on it to do all these repairs. They sold the house for $175,000. The repairs were $5,000. She made that customer more money and got them out of their situation and helped them using the tools. But we have to give them the confidence to use these tools so they're not so scary. So every agent doesn't have to go out and how to do it, and brokers too, right? We have to learn each one by one. Our portal helps us do that. And each one of these now, the agent can assess the situation, talk with the customer, build confidence, fill the need, and get them to where they need to go. And even as we continue to evolve, all these tools now, buyers now who have credit problems, being able to use the homeownership accelerator, be able to find the house that you want, have Divvy come in and buy it for you, you know, and then rent it back from them until you can build your credit back. You know, having your mortgage partner, just like, you know, as Leslie was talking about, your mortgage partner tied into them so that when they're ready, but the tools and a modern brokerage has better have all that at your fingertips, or else you're just not going to win deals. And if you're not going to win deals, I mean, then we're spending money on marketing and all these kind of things when we can go out there and win more listings, win more to buyers, and build confidence for our referral networks. And I'm just proud of how people are using and embracing it. And I love the portal because it helps me teach it and helps me show folks how to really put it to use.
You know, the term confidence has come up multiple times. You know, I manage a team of salespeople. I've managed salespeople for a long, long time, just like all of you. And to me, the most confident agent or salesperson is the most prepared salesperson. So everything you're talking about there is putting that agent in a position to be very prepared so they can walk into whatever type of, you know, conversation it is. It's a buyer, it's a seller. They can walk in with confidence because they know what they have behind them, supporting them, like the things you guys are talking about. And to me, that allows an agent to walk in there with a level of I don't know, swagger, I guess, you know, that, hey, you know, I have this together. I'm really going to be able to help you. And I have the company behind me to do that. So a couple of questions coming through here, you know, as we get through this, and I've got a couple more things I want to throw out. But question, I think probably for Leslie, who pays for the stagers? So somebody's asking. Why don't you just throw that to everybody? All these things that you're doing, like the listing concierge, the stage, et cetera, all these additional services. Are you footing the bill, or is somebody paying for it?
Well, our agents are our partners, so they don't really work for us. So each agent, we provide all the service. They know what the costs are. Some agents choose to pay for the service up front and either increase their commission split. Some agents have certain things that they have the seller pick up and vice versa. So it's on a one, every case is totally different because, for example, in staging, there's a consultation. There's a price for that. I may, as an agent, choose to do that, but I may not actually pay for the cost of actually doing the staging. So, but it's every agent can choose to do what they want and how they want it, and because they're running their business.
Do you require that based on the sales price? If it's over a certain amount, you require certain things, or no? It's always up to the agent.
Well, we don't require anything. What we do is we provide our agents with all the tools, all the resources, all the systems, and all the support. And because you may go into a house that's might be $1 million house and it's a wreck. So, you know, if you want to sell that house, you know, I've listed houses where I actually went in the front of the house and planted flowers. So you as an agent have to do whatever it takes. We have the stagers, we have even homeowners warranty. We provide that, and the only thing is we do ask that every seller or client declines the particular all the different options or take them, because we want them to understand this is something that we're recommending, and you obviously have the option to take it or not. And they have to decline if they don't want it, because sometimes it comes back to bite them. So it has to be very clear. This was a solution that was offered to you up front. So, but every agent do choose how they handle the payments.
Perfect. Thank you. So Lane, there's a question here probably for you. You talked a lot about listing concierge. Can you kind of describe, like, if someone was going to try to set up a listing concierge, you know, what should they be thinking about?
Yeah, you know, we see at Zavvy, we see brokerages that partner with third parties, and then we see brokerages that set up their own in-house listing concierge. If you're going down the path of setting up your own, you have to decide, are you going to handle both the financing and the work? What's the most common is the brokerage is providing the advance of the capital, the finances, but the listing agent is relying on their network to get the work and the vendors in and get the work done. That's the most common. Of course, the simplest solution is to partner with you know, a listing concierge company like Curbio that has it turnkey. And of course, you know, you can go direct, but what we do at Zavvy is we put that all under your brand. So it looks like your brokerage has all these programs. It's your brokerage's program, not a collection of vendors.
Right. Yeah. Perfect. Perfect. All right. So, I think a lot of people probably, are thinking about, okay, what am I doing in my particular situation? And as someone who's been around for several years doing this, like all of you, this is an industry where it's hard to get people to change. We have a tool that allows agents to do pricing estimates in under 5 minutes, and which is amazing because you can now do pricing estimates for everybody you know. But hey, I've been using this CMA tool for the last 30 years, and so people ask me, what's your competition? And I say, my competition is people being stuck in old ways and not modernizing themselves, if you will. So talk about that for a second. How do you convince someone who's been doing things the same way and maybe is afraid to change, or their agents are afraid for them to change, and how you have that conversation? Maybe Jamie, you could talk about that since you do some consulting. What would you tell somebody who's nervous about making some of these changes, not sure what changes to make to modernize their brokerage?
Well, I mean, it's got to make sense for your business model and your business plan. It's really dependent on where you want to take your business. But I will tell you, if you don't modernize, and I've told brokers this, friends, agents, because if you don't modernize, then somebody who is going to take business away from you. And at the end of the day, it really comes down again to leads and lead conversion. How do I find more customers and convert them and get them into transactions that close? So these tools help us to convert those, that business. The listing concierge is a perfect example. Now we're in this market. Now we're shifting to a balanced market, or even maybe to a buyer's market. So in some markets, they're hard to tell. But now your sellers can go, well, how do I stage? Well, I've got a tool now that can help you pay for staging. Okay, that you don't pay till closing. Whether it's the in-house brokerage model, and there's some big brokers that are doing some different things. There are the Curbios and the Revives. They can pay for that, or pay for clean out, or pay for these things, and I will help facilitate that for you. And that facilitation, now it's scary, but what I recommend for every broker, anybody who's listening and anybody out there, is to go in and find out who's in your market. The Savvy portal obviously makes it very easy because they show you who's in the market. Then go introduce yourself, because at the end of the day, it's still people business. On all these tools and products, go meet them, learn about them, have them come into your offices, so that when you roll out training for your agents, you know who's doing the training, or you know who's behind the curtain, if you will. And those people are still people you can pick up the phone, talk to. They'll still hit an email and somebody will answer. It's just the modernization, the scariness that there's so much of it. So how do I, as the broker, pull it all in, understand it's iBuyer, Power Buyer, Listing Concierge, Homeownership Accelerator, and what was the last one?
You got them.
Got them. So all those pieces to it, put them into those nice little buckets, and then go out and learn about them, then bring them to the agent. And the agent's like, okay, it's like anything, if I don't modernize, if I don't innovate, then I'm just going to depend on, what I got. And that may be okay for some folks. There's not a thing in the world wrong with that, right? But if I want to grow, if I want to build a team, or if I want to have a sustainable business that lasts 5 years, 10 years, meeting the customer where they are, that's how I I try to make it not scary by teaching. I try to make it not scary by going out and finding out about them myself, even using them myself. I kind of my own guinea pig, drives my wife crazy. But I go out and learn about them, and then I can teach them, and we can put them into some nice little packages and teach our agents. And then find our champions, who are the advocates, ones that use it and use it successfully, pull them out, show them, have them go through how it worked, and everybody's like, oh, maybe that's not so scary. Maybe that's not so hard,
Validation is so important, for sure. You want to see someone using it successfully, someone you look up to, and say, wow, I should try this too. Leslie, during our prep call, you talked about compensation models possibly playing a role in all this. Why don't you talk about that for a second?
Yeah, actually, I will. And I just have something to add to Jamie, and I'm probably going to be showing my age here. But when we talk about scary and change and all that, what comes to mind to me is, was Blockbuster Netflixed? Right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know. Or because I'm pretty certain that Blockbuster knew what was happening in the market, right? And
right.
They were not willing to make those changes, right? Because most of their revenue was coming from the late fees that they were charging. And if they were to go into with Netflix or those streaming companies, there would not be any late fees. So I think that's what brokers always have to look at, because change is inevitable. Growth is optional, right? I think John Maxwell said that. I think I stole that from him. But anyway, so that's always the key. So yes, nobody likes change, but that's life, right? And I also think the pandemic we've had recently have forced people to change. Like, look at what we're doing. We had virtual capabilities before, right? But now it's every day. You on a Zoom call or on a so change is going to happen. You're going to be left behind, or you're going to participate. But anyway, yeah, I'm sorry.
If I could piggyback on that too, and because I think it's such an important point about learning and growing. I know it's a goal for myself. I try to read like one biography, one self-help book, one pleasure book every month or so, But as an agent, I tell my agents, hey, go learn about one new product every month or every couple of months. Don't try to eat them, bite the whole apple, You learn one new product and see if it'll work in your business, and to make that part of your goal, as you go through your year.
Yeah, growth is
related to this. Do you guys know who invented digital photography and when?
I'm sorry, I didn't get that, Joe.
Do you know who invented digital photography and when?
No.
Kodak invented digital photography, I think in the 70s or 80s, and they didn't want to employ it. And you know what happened, right? Apple came in and everything that's happened since then, Kodak went bankrupt, right? So my point being, and your point, Leslie, is if you don't change, somebody's going to change for you, and you're going to be left in the dust. Exactly. And that's the point of all this, is you can't be afraid to change. You got to do thoughtful change, right? You have to think about it and talk to other people, which is the purpose of this conversation. So Leslie, I direct the question to you about compensation and the role that it might play in this.
And I'm assuming you're speaking the compensation for the agents, or okay.
Well, both agents and staff, maybe.
Okay, so Keller Williams is actually what we call an interdependent model. So our agents are our partners. They don't work for us per se, as most other companies. So in our model, our agents, our splits are, we have different splits. So for example, a brand new agent, our split starts at 70-30. Agents keep 70 and we take 30. And then they can go all the way up to 90-10 split. In addition to the split, our agents have the ability on an annual basis to cap, meaning they can be at 100% of their commission. So for example, if you're at 70-30, and if you're in an office and the cap is 20,000, then once you've contributed company dollar of 20,000, now you're at 100% of your commission. And we also have a capper's wall. I mean, we make a big deal about it. Agents love to be capped or be at 100% of their commission. And that, I think, makes them feel more in control, that this is their business and that they're running that. Yeah.
Does that result in them using more of these tools that you've been talking about because they feel like they're empowered like that?
Well, they are empowered in other ways as well. We create a lot of the services that we provide. We create joint ventures. So our agents actually get dividends. So let's say, for example, with a title company, we have a joint venture with a title company. So every quarter, there are dividends that are distributed to the agents that use that title company. They're not required to use the title company. They're not required to use a mortgage company. They're not required to use the insurance. They're not. However, the ones that do, they do get dividends because those are joint ventures that are created for the agents. Our motto is Keller Williams is created by agents for agents. So we actually even have, each office has what we call an agent associate leadership council, which serves as a board of directors for that office. So our agents actually have a say-so in how the company is run at a local level, regional level, and national level. So it's a true partnership. So it's a little bit different. They'll even vote on the commission splits. We have some agents that rather stay at a lower commission split so they can cap faster. So it's really a partnership.
Perfect. Do they pay desk fees after the cap?
Our office does not, and just so you know, Keller Williams, every office is individually owned and operated. So I'm not speaking for every office because every office can do something a little bit different. In our office, we do not have desk fees or monthly fees. We do collect, and I say the word collect because it's not for us. We collect errors and omissions insurance. Our agents do have options on how they pay that. They can pay it all in one lump sum. They can pay it from a transaction, or they can have a monthly installment on that. And the other charge that we collect is a technology fee. Keller Williams Realty has spent almost $1 billion developing proprietary technologies. So our agents have from AI to mobile app, websites, CRM, database, I mean, name it.
Yep.
So they do charge our agents. We collect a monthly, an annual fee for that, and our agents can pay it one lump sum, to have it deducted from a transaction.
Jose, I just want to jump in here because, at Zavvy, we have broker partners all across the country. KW partners, we have every different type of agent compensation model I think we have on the platform. The one thing though, I think if you elevate up above the brokerage, when Jamie described all those different ways his agents unlocked transactions, and Leslie as well. I think one thing to keep in mind, sometimes people think the disruptors are sort of taking the commission away. That's a myth. If the agent, the modern agent, and every deal Jamie described had a modern agent at the center. And that modern agent, I mean, I don't have to ask Jamie because I know that modern agent got paid a commission. They weren't cut out at all. They actually increased the value they were providing, and the client was happy to pay them. It's when the agent is clueless that the client has no choice but to cut them out and go direct. And it's similar, like if you're an agent and you said, yeah, I don't really work with new construction, you're on your own for that. Head on over there to the waving flags. I don't need that commission. No, you say, of course I can help you with new construction because I'm an expert in new construction. And the client is actually like, oh, good, because I didn't want to lose you. I wanted your help. I wanted your representation. That's a modern agent. They bring all of those solutions and they stay at the center and they get paid.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, there's no more
And
questions.
you think about,
Go ahead, Jamie. Sorry.
I'm sorry, and you think about as a modern brokerage, whatever compensation plan you're using, and there's a million of them out there. I've seen probably a million of them. Whatever plan you're using, it's what is your value? How do you provide value to those your agents, so that they come back and say, I believe in you and I'm willing to pay whatever that program is because you're bringing value to me, whether it's training, whether it's coaching, whether it's support systems and tools and structure. A modern brokerage had better have it, because if not, somebody else is going to have it. And to be able to help that agent close more transactions, do more deals, do it easily, have a better quality of life, all those things that we talk about when we coach and teach agents.
Well, let's bring it in for a landing, guys. Just one piece of advice that you would give someone who's sitting here thinking, man, I got to modernize my business and become a modern broker. So Leslie, let's start with you. Just 30 seconds. One piece of advice.
Well, I mean, to me, it's really it's mindset. It's really mindset. I'm thinking as soon as I get off this, I'm going to be reaching out to Lane here to find out what he has. I'm always looking at different options, different solutions, because you have to. This is the world we live in, and I think it's your mindset. It's your mindset. You have to always be looking at different things and how it can benefit you and not only your agents but also their clients as well. Because if you can't benefit the client, the agent's not going to have as much business. So I'm going to stick with mindset. Mindset it's an abundance mindset.
How about you, Jamie?
Well, I would just advise anybody out there that you have a plan. So having a business plan, I'll lean into my coaching a little bit, but be prepared to lean into the future. Be data driven, because data really tells us what's happening in marketplaces. It helps us explain to our agents and our customers. and then be prepared to find different lead generation tools. You know, and that's really, I think that where all this is going is how we generate leads, whether we generate them for our agents or agents generate them themselves, and using the tools to generate those leads and converting those leads. Perfect example now, as you think about in the Zabby platform, Lane knows the home investors folks are there. Well, those are the folks that buy ugly houses. You know, those are the folks that go, well, how can I use that? Well, out there are people in need who need help. And those home investors folks will come in there, buy that house, renovate it, and guess who gets to be the listing agent on the back end most times? Your agent. So wherever we are, using data, understanding the marketplace, have a plan, and then lean into the tools to help your agents prospect and find more opportunities. And the sky's the limit no matter what kind of market we're in.
Well, we'll let our sponsor wrap it up with one piece of advice you'd give someone trying to modernize their brokerage. Tell us, Lane. Great.
Yeah, I'll put my broker owner hat on for this one. And the advice would be, you can both hunker down right now and invest at the same time. And what I mean by that is, hey, anybody running a business right now, I don't care if it's a real estate brokerage or a taco stand, you need to watch your expenses. That's just the reality of the macroeconomic environment we're in. At the same time, that doesn't mean you can't invest and grow, because I think Leslie and Jamie are absolutely correct. We are at an inflection point. This deceleration in the market, if you look at the data, was actually more pronounced than the COVID deceleration in the spring of 20, and this one's going to be longer. And so we are at an inflection point, and there is going to be the great separation of brokerages who invested and were playing the long game, watching their expenses, but playing the long game and growing, not just in top line, but I'm talking growing in skill set and ability. In fact, becoming modern brokerages, they're going to separate from the people who just were taking orders and weren't supporting their agents in the easier market.
Perfect. Well, great. So if anybody has any questions, I'm sure you can contact RISMedia, but Leslie, you want to give your email address real quick in case anybody wants to talk to you?
Sure. It's very easy. It's Leslie Cato at kw.com.
Okay. Jamie?
Yep. Jamie, Jamie, at xfactorsuccess.com. You're also welcome to text me. I get text messages. It doesn't matter, from all over, 904-703-5522. Happy to answer questions and help anybody out.
Lane?
Yeah, easiest place, Lane at Zabby.com, Lane at Zabby.com. And of course, our website, if you want to learn more, jump in there and let us know you're interested.
And I'm Jose Perez. Thank you again. My email is jp@homegenius.com. And thanks for being here. And thank you, panelists, for a great information. And I hope a lot of people will be modernizing their business very, very soon.
Pleasure. Good
Bye.
to see you.
Thanks so much for being.
All right. Take care.